Season 13, Forces in Motion, Physics in Necrotic World, Episode 85, Dependency. Welcome, strangers. Physics is philosophy in motion. So you ever notice how the line between crazy and sanity is just a few better jokes apart? Crazy is just sanity with better punchlines. Desperation often derives worth ethics, unlike ever formed before. Mass is the only impactor of motion, means that it's a stationary thing that you're talking about. Mass and pre-collision velocity being impacted as a motion means that it's an obviously previously moving thing that you're talking about. Motion is dependent on mass and velocity, because sometimes the best way to be sane is to let your inner joker have the mic. These obey the laws of motion as laid out by Newton, as the application of forces change the momentum with the varying times taken. Mate, did you know that Newton was a mathematician too? He wasn't just a falling apple gravity guy. He also generalized the binomial expansion and developed calculus, especially differential calculus, in leaps and bounds. And he's an iteration fanatic too, which is awesome. So I love the breakdown of iteration cycles, as it really shows how systems truly work. James Gleick said in his book that Mandelbrot II, he tried any paper he could, but had to get a translator to translate into something that the economics or the physicists or the mathematicians, etc., would read. Time crystals are very fascinating and relatively new. Well, actually, very new. I can see relevance of cryogenics here, in that continuous space-time crystals are spontaneous, and gravity is like condensation, with the sides of the system being like winds with cascade cooling setting the climate. The applications of cryogenic tech to these new quantum devices and everything I've been looking at so far, even the ferrofluids, do suggest chaotic attractors can seem infinite. The Ada position electron ring at CERN very much so interests me. It allows for beams of particles to collide and eradicate one another. You don't need a metal target like for X-rays to generate X-rays with this device, as there's a whole system of magnets to perfectly arrange the opposite charges into a single blasting beam upon the same possibility path. Newton's second law is technically force is equal to rate of change of momentum, but this is more well known to be force is equal to mass multiplied by acceleration. Last year, I made 3 formulae. The first one was the equation of the tangent of a circle, being the y of the point on the circle multiplied by y, being equal to radius squared minus x of the point multiplied by x. This gives local initial condition. The second equation was the angle of the circle, being 2 times cos to the power minus 1 of half chord length over radius. This gives angle of the geographical connection between nodes of the systems in particular. The third formula was least successes is equal to log of 1 minus p of, in brackets, 1 minus wanted probability. This gives gambling on the minimum likelihood of branch connectivity as per the bifurcation of systemic evidence. Dynamic networks naturally make chaos, so like ferrofluid being distributed in a plastic box following a set of magnetic axioms, there will be attractors made. I planned an experiment on the back of this, but honestly at this rate, no one's realistically gonna let me set it up and trust me to run it. I may as well share some thoughts. The wanted probability would literally be the percentage of ferrofluid in the cube. I would need to divide the cube into mini cells. The least successes formula would be used to give how likely it is for the ferrofluid to occupy a particular cell at any one point in time. The angle at sector would give max speed from each magnet as center per side. Each magnet as center per side. The tangent, as can be derived from any given point, can give direction of ferrofluid movement. So how does ferrofluid in a small cube under alternating magnetic fields at different temperatures using self-derived formulae and graphical software can create quasi-stable patterns be observed in this relatively contained system? You know, I had a whole plan and a few pages of thoughts put into this, my own chaotic, subjective chaos system. I was thinking to do it as an EPQ, but I don't know how that would work, if I can actually do that. I mean, it'd be fun if I could. Yeah. So nematic liquid crystals come from the word nema, meaning thread, which is relevant because the spontaneous breaking of spatio-temporal symmetry using ferrofluid distribution means instead of using light to excite anisotropic molecules, I can spontaneously break spatio-temporal symmetry in the same nema of space-time liquid crystals in the same vein of systemic thinking, following the skimmed pages of Da Vinci's Codex Atlanticus, and modern-day cryo personnel at GOES Lab in Florida, looking into integration of liquid hydrogen storage for sustainable aviation, which is all a philosophical endeavor like no other, despite its physical roots and technical precision that I somewhat lack myself. It's a strange world. It doesn't matter really, because I just am a ghost really, right? If I don't get results, then realistically, I just get told off. It's not a waste of time thinking and talking and finally getting a way to be me. And this podcast is literally screaming me. I understand past papers and all, but the way I learn is by thinking. I need to do this. I can't just do past papers alone. I need the exam to be exciting and chaotic and unknown. But my knowledge, I wish that to be very well known. I want that to be solid. I want to have that rock solid base. So by about Christmas to January, I want to have covered all this content in this podcast that I need for GCSE, but also be able to explore myself and talk about what I want to talk about. See you next time at Physics in Necrotic World. This is your host, Rimona Christian, R out.